Something that fascinates me is cryptozoology, mythical creatures, folklore, stuff like Bigfoot, the abominable snowman, Loch Ness monster, aliens, the undiscovered elements of nature and planet Earth really interest me, like a lot. So when I first read the premise of this film about a year ago and I saw A24, Unicorn, Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, I was immediately interested in the film. And because of the whole unicorn thing and the whole lack of unicorn representation on the silver screen in recent years, I just had a feeling that the film itself was going to be really unique and different. And in doing that, I think I set myself up for disappointment because the ultimate problem with Death of a Unicorn, amongst a few other things, is that it ultimately feels like numerous different films that we've seen a few times before. What I did like about it were those folklore, mythological undertones where Jenna Ortega is researching the history of unicorns in folklore and trying to adapt that information to what's going on in the mansion with the unicorns trying to attack them and kill them. And occasionally, the musical score has kind of a whimsical feel to it, which amplifies those mythological tones and the folklore aspect. And I just really like that. Again, the whole folklore, mythological, crypto thing really appeals to me. And this film appealed to me in bits and pieces in that regard. But the whole unicorn thing only differentiates this film and makes it stand out to a point. And at a point about halfway through, it dawned on me that I wasn't loving the film and I couldn't really quite figure out why that was. And then we get to the third act, and that's where it finally clicked into place and I realized. And the third act is pretty much we're trapped in the mansion and we're going to run and hide from the monsters. That's essentially what it is. Take away the unicorns and it's a run-of-the-mill monster film, which is what I meant when I said it feels like numerous different films that we've seen before, because we've been trapped in a mansion or some kind of big manor, running away from monsters, hiding from monsters, creeping around corners and stuff like that. We've seen the monsters chasing humans because the humans have a baby version of that monster. In this case, they have the baby unicorn and the adult unicorns want the baby unicorn back. You've got Jenna Ortega, who's the only one who can see sense, and she's trying to convince people this is a bad idea. Death's gonna happen, bad shit's gonna go down, no one's listening to her because money. Multiple different archetypes and formulas crunched together to make a horror film just with a unicorn in it instead of another generic horror monster. And along the way, the pacing was not particularly brilliant. The film's only like an hour and 50 minutes. It felt like 2.5 hours. And I think it was the second act where it really started to drag because it felt a little bit repetitive because, again, the family are trying to get the resources from a unicorn and they're all, ha ha ha, we're being really rich in a really kind of mustache twirly, cartoony kind of way. And Jenna Ortega comes in, she's like, we shouldn't be doing this. And she's giving all the evidence and they're just shrugging her off because money. And then they carry on doing it. Something else happens. Jenna Ortega comes back, we shouldn't be doing this. Look at the folklore. And they go, haha, money. I just kind of rinse and repeat for that second act and it started to drag. And yeah, the douchebag wealthy family, Richard E. Grant, Will Poulter, etc. After a while, they started to feel a bit cartoony because despite everything that goes down and people are dying, unicorns are attacking their property, there's damage everywhere, they're still scheming, they're still trying to twist it in their favor to become super mega ultra rich. And I get it, it's a comedy, it's not supposed to be super serious. It's just after a while, it stopped being terribly funny. There were some good lines. Will Poulter is probably the best part of the film in the cast. I forget how talented Will Poulter is every time I see him in a film, and he plays the part really well. I enjoyed seeing Paul Rudd in a different type of film environment than he's usually in. He's usually in straight comedies. This being a horror comedy, it was a different kind of box for Paul Rudd to be in, so that was cool. Jenna Ortega, she's good in the film, but she kind of does play the same character again, where she's crying and she's stressed and she's, trying to convince everyone of, something bad's going to happen, but they're not listening to her and she's panicking a lot. She's good, but it's the same kind of character again. Again, I feel like I set myself up for disappointment because I just had it in my head that unicorn meant unique film, and they just didn't make a unique film with a unique creature at the center.